And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. We are sorry we missed last week. We were both out of town, and we got good reasons. I was in Nashville, was the Georgia Vanderbilt game. Brett was in Louisville, rocking his little head out.
Yep, I saw Metallica 2 nights in Louisville.
That's right.
Valid excuse, but I did watch a lot of football that Saturday.
Mm-hmm. So let us begin. It was a great week for college football. A lot of things are kind of getting shook out right now. There's two clear number ones. And I say number ones, Alabama and Georgia are the superior teams right now.
Yeah, I would say like 1A and 1B.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's begin. Friday night, Iowa, number 5 team in the nation, knocks off Maryland 51-14. Anything you want to say about this one?
I didn't get to watch this game because going to the game yesterday, I had to go to bed really early and get up, way earlier than I wanted to yesterday to make sure I was at the game in time, got my parking spot. So I didn't really watch it, but I knew Iowa was gonna win fairly easily. They are definitely one of those teams in the Big Ten I'm watching. That Big Ten's gonna be awesome this year. There's so many decent teams. Everyone seems to be, not everybody, but most of them seem to be playing well, very well. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but I knew Iowa was going to take it to them.
Yes, Iowa, Penn State, Ohio State, and Michigan.
And Michigan State.
And Michigan State still in play.
Well.
Still in play.
The Flying Mel Tuckers.
That's right. So carrying on, also Friday night, BYU knocks off Utah State 34-20. BYU remains undefeated, 5-0, 13th in the country.
I mean, they'll probably move up as 3 teams in the top 10 went down this weekend.
3:30 game. Alabama, number 1 in the country, knocked off Ole Miss, who kind of surprised some people that really didn't play well in the first half, going through 4th downs, going for it, and their territory. Really questionable play calling at that point. But yeah, Alabama's.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember a couple episodes ago when Alabama played Florida, they struggled a little bit. Florida ran the ball on them very well, and we kind of discussed, is Alabama beatable? Well, I mentioned on that episode that Alabama has one of those games early in the season each year where they win. Maybe not as easy as everyone's used to seeing Alabama win, but the question arises, are they beatable? Well, then they come back and have a game like this, and it seems to piss them off. Last year, that game where people thought, hey, Alabama's beatable, last year that was the Ole Miss game. What happens after Ole Miss? They keep hearing for a week or so how bad their defense is, how many yards Ole Miss ran on them for. Then they come out and who they played, and I think that next game was Georgia. And they beat Georgia very easily, in my opinion, last year. So this is very similar. They spent the last couple weeks hearing about how Florida ran the ball for over 200 yards on them, and they were pissed off. And Ole Miss, to their credit, they went for the same formula as last year. They tried to go for a lot of 4th downs, try to run the ball. Alabama was having none of it. And they just kind of reasserted themselves. They look, we struggled against Florida, but we're the clear-cut number 1 team. We're going to show you right now.
That's right. Georgia knocked off Arkansas in the noon game. I watched this on TV. Brett was actually at the game. 37-0. JT Daniel didn't start. He didn't play. Don't know when he's coming back. But Stetson Bennett, we didn't need it. We didn't need a quarterback.
No, he was 7 for 11. Made one very questionable throw. But I mean, I was at the game. Those noon games are the bane of my existence. I got to get up at like 4:30 just to get to my parking spot.
Just to get a couple of beers into.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get to the parking spot too before it fills up, or then you're parking 4 miles from the stadium. I just can't stand them. I get it. Everyone was pissed off. This is a top 10 matchup. Why is it a noon game? I understand why it was a noon game. And I'm cool with that. It just kind of sucks that it happened that way.
That's right.
But it was Georgia's defense dominated once again. It really, that first drive Arkansas had, you could tell they were done. Yeah. They had nothing. They couldn't block Georgia's front 7. And first drive of the game, Georgia got the football, marched down the field, running the football, scored a touchdown. First touchdown Arkansas has given up in the first quarter all season. They gave up 3, really 2. One was a block punt for a touchdown. But they gave up 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. This game was never in doubt. That Georgia defense is fun to watch. Even if you're not a Georgia fan, and
you
just like college football, you just like defense, they're fun to watch.
Moving on, Oregon, number 3, gets knocked off by Stanford in overtime. I didn't get to see any of this. You were on the road while this.
I saw the end of this game, and if you've been watching this channel, you know how much I hate Stanford. So I was kind of ticked off. that Stanford won this game. They got out to a lead. Oregon came back. Very questionable call there on 4th and goal. Defensive holding. They do one on-timed down. Stanford gets to tie it up. Then they go to overtime. I kind of thought that call was completely BS, and it cost Oregon the game. So I'd be pissed off if I was Mario and the team. Oregon's a good football team, but that, kind of hurts Ohio State. Mm-hmm. The team that beat them just lost to an unranked Stanford team. But Stanford's playing well in Pac-12. Mm-hmm. That's a mess right now.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of see how that shakes out. It's not going to be as fun as the Big Ten, but I'm surprised about Stanford, and I'm surprised Oregon didn't win that game.
Okay, moving on to a Big Ten matchup. Penn State, number 4 in the country, 24-0 against Indiana. That was really hyped when the season started. Didn't see this one, but Penn State continues undefeated, 5-0.
I watched a little bit of this last night. Penn State kind of, they just did what they did. As you just said, Indiana's not the Indiana from last year. Very disappointing that they couldn't kind of build on that season and enter into this season. Penn State looks pretty good. I honestly believe that Michigan State, and Ohio State are better than Penn State, and maybe Iowa. Penn State struggled with Auburn. I don't think Auburn's that good of a football team. But they're undefeated, ranked number 4 in the country. I don't really agree with that, but we'll see how it shakes out. They still got to play some of these teams.
Moving right along, Oklahoma remains undefeated, knocking off Kansas State 37-31. I didn't see any of this one, but I don't know.
Oklahoma continues to just not be impressive. I mean, they scored 37 points, which is a lot more than they scored the last couple of games, but they're just not beating teams the way we're used to seeing Oklahoma beat teams. I don't think they're making the playoffs. They've got to go undefeated and win the Big 12 to make the playoffs, in my opinion. I think they're sitting here at number 6. Teams ahead of them are losing. I just don't really see them getting in that top 4.
Right.
College football final today, Joey and Jesse didn't even have them in the top 5. I mean, they're 6, but they're not even in the conversation for the playoff right now, unless more teams start to lose.
Right. But they remain undefeated. I mean, I see this to be utter chaos this season. And speaking of utter chaos, Cincinnati, number 7 in the country, go to 4-0 against. They defeated Notre Dame, who's now 4-1, 24-13. Notre Dame.
Yep.
It was going to catch up to them sooner or later.
Oh, yeah. They haven't been playing well. The game. Yeah. I kind of thought last week's Notre Dame win was impressive. They were down in the fourth quarter. I scored something like 30 points in the fourth quarter. But Cincinnati looked really good. They came out, they got a big lead in the first half, and they kind of let Notre Dame score a touchdown in the third quarter to kind of make it a little interesting. But then they just drove down the field and were like, okay, we're going to answer. Scored a touchdown. Ritter ran it in from 7-8 yards out. Mm-hmm. Huge statement win for Cincinnati. They were ranked number 7. I fully anticipate for them to jump up to at minimum 5. I expect them to jump over Oklahoma, to be honest with you. But Cincinnati's looking good.
They are looking good.
Primed, after last year, undefeated, conference champs, lost in the Peach Bowl to Georgia. Primed to make the playoffs this year. Yeah. Their remaining schedule is easy.
Mm-hmm. Very favorable for them to run the table.
Yes, they should run the table without question.
That's right. Here's one. Florida knocked off by Kentucky 20-13. Florida was the 10th ranked team in the nation. Kentucky is 5-0, and they are unranked. I expect that to change this week. Mm-hmm. 20-13 victory. What can you say? Kentucky's playing well.
They're playing really well. They're playing good defense. They're running the football well. They're throwing the football a lot better this year than they have in years past. They actually have a legit QB under center. I watched this game. Kentucky was getting jobbed really bad in the first half with calls against them. A no-call pass interference, clearly pass interference by Florida, would have given them, I think, a first and goal or first and 10 inside the red zone. No call. They end up having to punt. Florida gets the ball, and then there's a pass interference on Kentucky, which was questionable at best. It looked like it was one of those games where Florida was kind of going to get a little helped out. Mm-hmm. And, Kentucky's QB, I think it was Levis, threw a pick. Florida's about to score. They end up getting stopped, kicked the field goal. That's when Kentucky blocked it, ran in for a touchdown. The momentum changed, but Florida had chance after chance after chance in the fourth quarter to at least tie this game, and they just couldn't do it.
That's right.
You got to give credit to Kentucky's defense.
Yeah,
they played real well.
Got it done at home.
Even with some of the guys on the defensive line got hurt and couldn't play the rest of the game.
Stormed the field. in Lexington.
Yeah.
$10,000 fine.
Yeah, I thought they
Money
moved
well
it
spent.
to $100,000.
I think it's 10.
After Arkansas did it against Texas, I thought they jacked up the price.
They might have. I mean, either way, money well spent.
Yeah, exactly.
Moving right along, Ohio State knocks off Rutgers 52-13. Rutgers isn't that good, and Ohio State took care of business. They called off the dogs in the second half, of course, 52-13. Michigan, 5-0. Knocks off Wisconsin. I think it was late in the game. Michigan was up, and they started that jump around. Then Michigan's team was jumping around too because they're feeling it in Michigan right now. So
this game, my buddy Andy, a college roommate, went to this game. Flew out there to watch. He's a big Michigan fan, and had a lot of nice things to say about the campus, and maybe some not so nice things to say about the stadium. But I mean, he said overall the game, the atmosphere was great. He was really happy with the outcome, obviously. But he's been telling me all season long that Harbaugh is starting the wrong guy at QB. Putting in McInerney, the starter, he played well. But second half, they threw in the kid, was it J.J. McCarthy? I think his name is, like the 5-star freshman out of IMG. That kid is clearly much more talented, and everyone's kind of clamoring for that kid to get more playing time. But you really can't sit McNamara because he's playing well. It's kind of one of those, damned if you do, damned if you don't situations for Harbaugh. But Michigan's playing really well. They're number 14. They still got to play Ohio State, Michigan State. I believe they get at least one of either Penn State or Iowa on the schedule. I'm not really sure how that whole Big Ten conference thing.
Don't know how
I'm not like grasping it. Who's on what side? I don't even know. Right. Is it still legends and leaders? I don't even know.
Moving right along, Mississippi State knocks off Texas A&M 26-22. I think I went to sleep on this one, and I had no idea Mississippi State won this game. Awesome. So
yeah, the guy completed like 40 passes or something like that for Mississippi State. Air-rated. Complete air raid offense of Mike Leach. I didn't watch any of this game. I was actually watching a couple other games. This was kind of like on in the background. But got to give Mississippi State credit. What happened to Texas A&M? I know they lost a QB, okay? But the kid Calzada is not bad. Granted, they ran into a buzzsaw last week against Arkansas. Yeah, I'm gonna let that slide. But dude, even with the backup QB, Texas A&M was supposed to challenge Alabama this year in the SEC West.
I'm very surprised.
What happened? Jimbo Fisher was supposed to have this team rolling. Even with a backup QB, you cannot lose to Mississippi State.
Yes.
Just can't do it. I mean, credit to Mississippi State, they played well.
Yeah. Texas A&M, they lost. Arkansas beat them twice. I think that's
and
what it comes
guess who
right
they
now.
play next week? Alabama. So it could be 3 losses in a row. Good job, Jimbo Fisher.
Good job. Right there.
They're paying him a lot of money to lose 3 games.
Yes. Coastal Carolina remains undefeated, 59-6 against Louisiana Monroe. They're 16th in the country, moving right along. The Flying Mel Tuckers are 5-0, poised to do something here, beating Western Kentucky 48-31. They're playing well. He posted a picture on Instagram or Twitter. He was sitting on the porch smoking a cigar, loving life.
It was 42-16 at the half, and you could kind of see where second half they just kind of like took the foot off the gas, just kind of let it ride. Mm-hmm. But I like the way they're playing. I've said it before on this channel that they might not be the most talented bunch, but they're playing for each other. They're experienced. They've got some good transfers in. Mel Tucker's got them believing in each other, offense and defense, special teams. They've all bought in to what he's selling. I don't think they're going to really challenge as the meat of their Big Ten schedule really gets underway, but they might ruin somebody's season. They might hurt some feelings down at some point this season.
Right. Moving right along, Fresno State loses to Hawaii. They got some weird stuff going on.
I know, man.
I don't know what's happening there. We can talk about Fresno State being good.
I've been high on them. They knocked off UCLA.
And you look at they were up 24-10 going into the fourth quarter, and then they just gave up 17 points to lose the game.
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Baylor is knocked off by Oklahoma State. There's a battle of 2 undefeated. There were a lot of undefeated teams that played this week. Oklahoma State's allowed 24-14. Arizona State knocks off a UCLA team. What's going on? Now Arizona State's 4-1. UCLA goes to 3-2. Played well early in the season. Now they seem to be falling off.
It seems that the Pac-12 rather, just either A, they can't get the guys motivated, I don't know what's going on. UCLA looked like they were going to be good to beat LSU, which LSU's not that great this year, but still, that's something because LSU, even though they're down, they've got better athletes than UCLA does. LSU in that game looked like they didn't even feel like being there, and UCLA took it to them. They looked good, and then you lose to Fresno State, but you're still on pace to take that Pac-12 South Division, and then you go and lose to Arizona, who just lost to somebody last week. I don't remember who it was. Maybe like Oregon, or maybe it was BYU, maybe hell, I don't remember. But Arizona State lost last week. They were also in control of their own destiny in the Pac-12. Now they are again because they just knocked off UCLA. What the hell's going on there? It's basically reminding me, and I might have mentioned this last episode, of the old Big 12 rule, the Wheel of Destiny. Who knows what's going on week to week, but eventually by week 12, someone's going to be like, hey, I just backdoored my way into the Pac-12 championship
The whole
game.
conference schizophrenic. I mean, they're just all over the place.
Exactly.
Here's one that was last night. It was like a 9 o'clock start. LSU knocks off, excuse me. Auburn knocks off LSU 24-19. I mean, I think I went to sleep and I opened up my Twitter feed this morning or Instagram, and they're just showing this play by Bo Nix going all over the field, throwing a touchdown. Absolutely ridiculous play. And then Auburn scores 14 points in the fourth quarter to win 24-19.
I watched this game and got home from our game, and I was drinking heavily watching it. And I was just having a good time watching college football last night, drinking some beers, eating some pizza. And I'm watching this game, and I'm thinking, Bo Nix, I'm not impressed. Just like last year. He did the same crap last year. Only last year, he was playing teams like Georgia and Alabama that were getting him on the ground. Mm-hmm. That play was awesome. Amazing play. I was impressed with his ability on that play. But I can't help but thinking, damn, those LSU guys can't tackle. I mean, they had him like 4 or 5 different times. Is that more Bo Nix or LSU's issue? Who knows at this point? I wasn't really that impressed with either team. Mm-hmm. But good win by Auburn. They haven't beat LSU at Death Valley in like 20 years or something like that. So good for them. Big win for the Auburn program. I do like Brian Harsin. I think he's a good coach. I like what they got going. I'm just really not all that impressed. But there, one thing I want to mention about this game, there was a targeting call, which was complete BS. And I'm really glad they took a look at it and reversed it and kept that kid in the game, because it was on a QB sack and the guy just kind of came in there on the pile and his face mask hit the dude and they called targeting, and I was like, it's ridiculous. How many times is Auburn going to get jobbed on bogus targeting calls? But they reversed it, so that was kind of good. I'm glad to see the refs are kind of taking another look at that.
So let's talk about next week's games. We got the Red River Shootout, Oklahoma against Texas, be noon at 6 o'clock on Saturday.
Why are these games at noon? I mean, am I the only one here? Somebody leave a comment down below. Let me know. Am I the only one that thinks these noon games are ridiculous? Like Arkansas, Ole Miss. Yes, granted, they both just lost, but they're still good football teams.
So they left it up for grabs. So it was going to be whoever the winner. I guess it was the Arkansas-Georgia game. The loser would get the noon spot, and the winner would get the 3:30 slot or something like that. I think that was with the game.
Yeah, but Auburn's at 3:30. I mean, that's not. I don't really know what is on tap in the SEC next week. I think Alabama and A&M are playing. Right. That should be the 3:30 game. But they just had Alabama yesterday at 3:30, so I can understand.
Yeah.
I don't think the Georgia-Auburn game is going to be that good of a matchup to be 3:30, but they're going to play up the whole Deep South's oldest rivalry card, and then you try to get people all interested in it, but that should be a night game, really.
You got the Baylor-West Virginia game could be interesting. It always seems to be between those two teams in the Big 12.
That South Carolina-Tennessee game could be interesting. Tennessee looked good yesterday. Yeah. South Carolina has flashes of looking like they're on the way to being a decent team. Tennessee is kind of bipolar in my opinion. One week they can't complete a pass, the next week they can't not complete a pass. So I'm interested to watch that game.
As we mentioned before, Georgia against Auburn at 3:30. BYU Boise State's also going to be at 3:30. I don't know. Illinois, Wisconsin. I mean, who knows?
Penn State, Iowa. 4 o'clock. That's the game of the week right there.
Put it on your calendar.
Number 5.
That's right.
It's at 4 o'clock. Come on, put that thing at night.
That's $218 to get in that stadium.
Where is it being played at?
Iowa City.
Oh, man, that'd be a heck of a night game. They could do the blackout like they did against Ohio State a few years back. How many of these people are messing up the scheduling so bad in college football? Yeah. Nobody wants to watch TCU Texas Tech at 7 o'clock on ESPN. Yeah. Throw Iowa Penn State there. Michigan, number 14, Michigan taking on Nebraska, 7:30, ABC. I mean, come on, there are better games that need to be on these night slots. There we go with Alabama A&M at 8 o'clock.
On CBS.
That's their doubleheader. That's their first doubleheader this year.
Yeah. And let's see what else we got. UCLA against Arizona.
See if UCLA can get back on track. $19. You can go to Tucson, Arizona, and watch that game for $19.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on there. Notre Dame's got Virginia Tech. Maybe they can right the ship.
LSU, Kentucky. Is Kentucky going to have a letdown game after the big win against Florida?
It's at home. I think they're going to take care of business.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because they'll probably just run the football all day long in LSU, and I don't think LSU's offensive line is going to be able to block Kentucky.
Yeah. And this week's not as...
That'll be a nice 2-game win, or that'll be a nice, 6-0 for Kentucky by the time they come into Athens just to get beat by Georgia. So that'd be kind of fun for them.
It'd be good for their program. But, it is what it is.
They might finish the season with like one loss.
Yeah. I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
I know.
This year it's interesting how everything's kind of shaking out.
Yeah, it's a fun year. I was watching college football final on ESPN this morning, and they were really excited about the fact that their top 6, potential playoff teams, you only had one of the 4, they called them the usual suspects, Ohio State, Oklahoma, Clemson, Alabama. You only had one. You had all these other teams in the mix, and you could tell that they were loving that, and the fans are digging it too. As fans, I think we all like parity in the sport. It's not really fun when basically September 1st you can pencil in
2 or 3 teams.
Yeah, 2 or 3 teams in the playoffs already. And
so it's good. It's good. Yeah. We're getting a little shake up here. We didn't talk about Clemson. They barely defeated Boston College. We don't know what's going on with Dabo.
In the red zone with a chance to win the game and fumbles the shotgun snap. And Clemson lost Barisi last week for the season. And at some point, it was either last week or the week before, they lost Will Shipley for the season. I completely missed that. So, they're still a really good football team defensively. They've got a lot of work to go offensively. They're losing guys left and right.
There's a lot of criticism going around that they're building their team around their stars and they're not really developing their talent that they have there. But I don't know.
Dude, Dabo's got 2 national titles.
I can't criticize.
All right, you can't really criticize the guy. I heard that criticism on a podcast. I also heard that when you get to that amount of years where you're successful, like kind of building your dynasty, and you're going on that long,
you get a little stagnant.
You get stagnant. You kind of got to change out some assistant coaches. So they're basically pointing the finger at Brent Venables saying, the dude doesn't want to be a head coach. All he wants to do is be a defensive coordinator at Clemson, but it's like he's been there so long, it's stagnant. They need some change. I didn't necessarily agree with that, but the guy that said it is one of the very few people in college football media that I actually respect his opinion. So he might be onto something, but it's really hard to say.
Is it defensively? It's an offense that's a problem. Yeah. I don't know what they're doing wrong. I don't know what it's not recruiting because the guys are getting 4 and 5 stars.
They got some really talented guys. I think it all comes back for Clemson is the offensive line issues. Because skill positions they're good, and I still believe in DJ. I still believe that guy's going to be a really, really good QB by the time he leaves Clemson.
By the end of the season, they could be rolling. Yeah. They could sneak into the Orange Bowl or something.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen. But anyway, that concludes this week's episode. Hopefully we get this out to you pretty quickly. Made some upgrades and some the infrastructure and the hook and ladder programming. So we'll get some more stuff out here to you as soon as we can. Anyway, you guys have a good day.
See you guys.
All right.